We'll start with you, Parf, if we can. While Sport has a long chat with JT. Parf, one of the things I read on the internet, it said you could stop a taxi several streets away with your voice. You're a loss on the after-dinner circuit. You packed it up, but you obviously told some great stories about Dennis Compton, among others. Would you say he was the greatest player you ever played with? Can you hear me? It is, Parf, yeah? You asked me to make this easy for you. I mean, if you want me to continue in that vein, perhaps you cooperate.
I did play with him, I don't know how many times, not many times, but certainly I first played with him when I was 18. And we played Somerset at Glastonbury, and when I walked to the crease, he'd not been in very long, and he was 7 not out. An hour and a quarter later, he was 114 and I was 6. And I can always remember, because I had been really sort of helped by other team players who said, Parf, whatever you do, he said, just be careful of Dennis. He said, because if you think he's a bad runner, he said, you've not seen anything like this. And I'll just go off at a tangent for talking about him as a bad runner against somebody like Boycott. Dennis was batting here at Lord's in his brother's benefit match, which was the great Leslie Compton, centre-half for Arsenal, wicket-keeper for Middlesex, 20,000 people in the ground, Saturday of the Sussex Whitsuntide game, and Dennis, and it was always accepted in those days that you got one off the mark if you were the beneficiary. What happened? Dennis ran his brother out for naught. And I can always remember having, sort of several years later, I'm batting with him at Glastonbury and he's 97 not out. Colin McCool is bowling, and Colin McCool bowls and Dennis plays forward. He bowls again, Dennis plays forward. And I'm halfway down the wicket because I didn't want to be run out live. 4th ball, I'm down the wicket. Dennis comes down the wicket. He says to me, will you stand still, he said. He said, I'll hit him through there in a minute. Which he did. Great player.
John, I mentioned your century against the West Indies, and thank you for the fiver you slipped me to mention that. Was that the greatest innings in your career, as far as you were concerned? So you got plenty of other centuries for Middlesex.
You have to say yes, don't you? You have to say yes, don't you? I think there were. We won't go into that. I think there were probably a couple of innings.
Yeah.
Better.
Well, I wish we would go into it, because that's what we're here for. I mean, you haven't paid for your lunch. I mean, So what were your next...
I've got you on my right hand, and I don't hear too well in the right hand.
Oh, okay.
I'm not too sure what you said there. So I'll ignore that.
Yeah.
If you get 100 in a test match, it has to be better than anything.
Yeah. And could you tell us what was perhaps in your, leaving aside the test matches, what was your greatest game in your memory for Middlesex in your career?
Oh dear, I don't know. You've got all the facts and figures there, Bob. How many games did I play? I can't remember which was the best game I ever played. we had a little bit of success.
Yep.
Not as much as I would have hoped, because I came here in 1950 onto the ground staff here. I arrived April the 4th, I think it was, through the North Gate where we all came today. I was met by a man called Leslie Syme, who was the ground superintendent or something, with a chap called Brian Hall, who you might even know. We were given a broom each, and I swept what was then called the H&I stand and the whatever the next one was, which are now Compton and Edrich. And my first task here was sweep the Compton and Edrich stands. And then I retired in 1975, and we hadn't won a bloody thing. And Titmus, under Michael, they win the championship in 1976, and Titmus said, "I now know what's been wrong with Middlesex." But they were the best years of my life, without any doubt. We didn't make any money. That wasn't important. I woke up every morning with a desire to go to my place of work, and that continued right through. And I'd live it all again without even being right.
Sounds to me like every game you played was the greatest game of your life. So that's lovely. Sport. You've stood at behind the stumps and on the field, Lord's Taverners games, having the great pleasure of watching me bowl and occasionally bat. And we've always called you Sport. And I've never known why. Where does the name come from?
I don't really know sport. And I tell you, the reason JT was happy to go to Lord's every morning was because I used to give him a lift. But no, sport, I'm not the greatest on names, and so instead of trying to remember names, just called everybody sport. Everybody seemed quite happy with that.